Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Final Trade. It's video you know I love doing. It's the 6-month update to Magic Collector Box long-term performance. Yes. So we look at every collector box that has existed in Magic's history. We take the release date, the original wholesale price of the box, today's current market price on July 3rd, 2025, and we use those to calculate the compound annual growth rate, which is the single percentage by which the value has gone up from the original price to today's price each year that it has been around. And for partial years, it handles that calculation too. So the nice thing about compound annual growth rate is it normalizes for time, it normalizes for relative price, and it just gives us a single percentage number that says what has been the best thing to be invested in. Now, I have divided the collector boxes into 3 eras, and there is specific reasoning for that, though it's not as dramatic as it was in the past in some ways. In some ways, it's still just as dramatic. The first era was kind of pre-COVID, and it was collector boxes when WOTC first started releasing them, and WOTC didn't quite understand what they had on their hands. They said, hey, let's take a box, let's load it down with foil cards, with really cool variations, with all kinds of interesting things, a high number of rares and mythics, and let's sell it for an absurd price and just see what the market will bear. And they had the incredible luck, and we had the incredible misfortune of that almost coinciding with the onset of COVID. And so then we had helicopter money, we had people getting back into their old hobbies, everything else. And so WOTC said, wait, we've got an ultra high margin product that we can sell an unlimited number of. And someone said, well, no, you can't sell an unlimited number of them. And that person was thrown out the window, and they said, print to oblivion. And that's where we got into the second era of boxes. And you have to remember, when you look at these dates, yes, Commander Legends was November of 2020, but the print run numbers would have been inked in a contract potentially a year before that. So, you know, we got into the kind of COVID era of boxes, which eventually led to the bear markets of 2022 and 23. And we had horrendous overprinting. We also had WOTC just kind of, as a product of the overprinting, the poor engineering came into focus. And that was an issue where when the first era boxes had much smaller print runs, the fact that they really weren't that well engineered was okay. They could still go up in price pretty nicely. But when you got into the second era and you had poor engineering, but now you had incredible print runs, then it just hurt those boxes' prices for many years. The interesting thing is, as we keep doing this update every 6 months, what we're seeing over time is those second era boxes have really recovered a lot, to the point where there are only 3 that are underwater, these ones that are highlighted red here, who basically still have not re-achieved their release day wholesale price, even out to July of 2025. And now, when I had first started doing this review, probably 18 or 24 months ago, there were several more of these that were in that kind of that red territory. And you can see there's a number of these here: Kaldheim, Modern Horizons 2, AFR, Baldur's Gate, and Dominaria United, and Dominaria Remastered, all of which only have single-digit CAGRs, even now, even after prices have recovered as much as they have. And then we have the third era, which begins at Phyrexia and goes forward to the present. And you can see those compound annual growth rate numbers. I'll show them all to you on a bar chart here in a minute. But you can see all those numbers just look incredible going out that far, going into the third era. And man, things have been amazing. There have been very, very few stinkers in that time. And really what changed is 2 things at the same time. WOTC finally got enough feedback from earlier boxes performance, earlier second era boxes, to say, hey, this is how we need to engineer these boxes. Either they need to have an appropriate number of serialized cards, or they need to have other great pulls in them that are going to be interesting, and they need to have a print run that's controlled tightly enough. And starting with Phyrexia at the beginning of 2023, they started to nail that. And you'll see it on the bar chart here in a minute. Now, I only went out to foundations. I skipped everything 2025 because compound annual growth rate calculations on very short timelines stop making sense. You start getting ridiculous results, and really you can see it with foundations there, that it shows 252% annual growth. Well, yeah, I mean, it is the correct calculation given the release day, given the wholesale price, given the current market price, but this is a product that has been in the market for only 8 months. And so doing a CAGR measurement on it after only 8 months is really asking a lot, because odds are this is going to slow in its ascent over the next couple of years, and we will not see 252% sustained for years to come. Very few products can do that. We're talking about things like Evolving Skies. Even Pokemon Evolving Skies booster boxes are only at something like 85% compound annual growth rate after about 5 years now. So going down to the bar chart, we can see these first era boxes here, and they go up through the green line of Commander Legends. Green lines are non-standard sets, blue lines are standard sets. So the first era is these first 6 lines here. And like I said, when I started doing this 24 months ago, these reviews, you could definitely tell that this first era had good positive returns, and then the second era was almost all stinkers. It was looking really bad, but again, they have recovered a lot. You still have Midnight Hunt, Crimson Vow, and Streets, all 3 that are still negative. And then you get to this bar here, and that is Phyrexia, and then it just blows up from there. Now, these 4 that come up here and touch the 100% tick line, I cut the graph off at 100%. Their actual compound annual growth rate performance is over 100%. I cut it off so that it wouldn't drown out everything else on the graph so that we could still see it. And if we look back up on the table, we have Lord of the Rings Special Edition at 200. We've got Fallout at 238, Bloomburrow at 161, and again, Foundations at 252. But you can discount that one because it's so recent. But what we see here is it's been another 6 months. Where's the giant crash that some people promise? Where are all the boxes coming out of closets? All those millions of boxes some people claim are just sitting back in closets and are going to prevent any of these things from going up in price in the future. Where is it? The data are the data. These are the results. People can sit around and they can crow until they're blue in the face about how markets don't work this way. It was never meant to be like this. It can't go on like this. And yet here we are, another 6 months. All these third era boxes are doing amazing. And this doesn't even have things like Tarkir already up over $300, even though it released in March. It doesn't have Final Fantasy. My goodness, what would that number even calculate out to? It doesn't have what's coming later. Spider-Man, already $700 on pre-orders. Avatar's probably going to be big when it gets here later this year, and there's still disagreement between me and everyone else over Edge of Eternities. I think it'll be fine, but I don't know that it can hold the price that it's at right now. But is it going to be a giant stinker? Odds are no. Here we are. These are the data that collector boxes still are just absolutely setting the market on fire. They're doing amazing. They're posting the kind of returns that if we were in the stock market, we would just go celebrate how great these returns are. But over here in the TCG market, yeah, it's just kind of normal. This is what we expect. And here's the big way that this is different from other collectibles. And it's kind of the somewhat tired cliche that I talk about a lot here. I will tell you the cliche and then I will explain it. It's that these are scarce collectibles that people destroy for fun. And that is the important part, that they destroy them for fun. When people buy collector boxes, when they buy Pokemon booster boxes, when they buy any of these types of collectibles, most people who are buying them, remember, we are the oddball minority here. Most people who buy these things are buying them to open. They're buying them to get the singles inside. They're buying them for the experience of ripping those packs from that old box, or that box that's associated with an IP that they love, or that box that they're still missing 4 or 5 cards in their collection binder from. They're buying the things to open them. But in terms of the sealed product market, that means they are buying them to destroy them. And I truly think that's what people who go on and on about how markets can't work like this, it can't go on like this, it was never meant to be this way, that's what they truly have not contemplated. That's what they don't yet understand, is that the supply of these products constantly goes down in the world. Collector boxes for Magic get one printing, and that is it. Even Pokemon booster boxes, those have typically a supported print life of about 2 years that the Pokemon company will go back to the printers and print additional ones that the market can bear it. Sometimes a little longer than that. But either way, the print life runs out, and there comes a point in time after which the population of those things only goes down. And when we're talking about other typical type of collectibles, most of those things, the populations are fairly static. It's just rare attrition that takes those things out of circulation. And for some of them, new ones actually keep coming into circulation. Things like classic cars. People will take old Hulks and Junkers and fix them up into new collectible classic cars. The same thing with ancient coins. People are constantly finding more ancient coins. They're digging them out of the ground. And so in some parts of the antiques and collectibles space, the inventory that is available in the world for people to trade, for people to bid on, goes up over time. A lot of it stays roughly the same and trends very slowly downwards. But when you're talking about the TCG sealed market, this is a whole different animal. This is a market of valuable collectibles that people destroy for fun. And this is what happens with that. You see this kind of amazing performance once WOTC figured it out, once they realized how to consistently put chase value into these collector boxes and to cut the print run significantly enough that these could quickly catch wind under them, get some hype, and get some positive reinforcement in the market. And as I've said several times recently, I don't know what changes this in the short term. In the long term, yes, we will eventually have a market downturn. Markets always cycle. Sometimes they take longer than we expect to cycle, but we will eventually have a downturn in the Magic market. I just don't see what causes it right now, because WOTC keeps breaking record after record after record. With almost every new release, they set new records for sales. And so right now they are absolutely on fire, firing on all cylinders, knocking every pitch out of the park, every analogy you need to be as hyperbolic as possible about it. They are performing amazing, and right now I expect it to continue. The same thing with Pokemon in the long term. Pokemon's more of a long-term thing because its market cycles act a little bit differently, and all of its products are subject to reprint, unlike Magic collector boxes. And sometimes those reprint windows unexpectedly get extended way beyond the typical 2-year life. But if you look out at Sword and Shield era products, now that Sword and Shield has been out of print for 2.5 years, not out of print, Sword and Shield has been over for 2.5 years. It's been out of print for about a year after the final Silver Tempest reprints. Even then, there is no Sword and Shield era box under $200. These are scarce collectibles that people destroy for fun. You should absolutely expect that the market will act like this. When the population of the product continually is reduced and people want to buy the thing in order to destroy it and take it out of existence, you expect these kind of outsized returns. It's exactly what you should expect. And the data are the data. We see it again and again. Every 6-month checkup on this, every 6-month checkup on long-term Pokemon box prices, we see it again and again. Incredible outperformance compared to our benchmark S&P 500 index ETF. This is what we expect. Let me know what you think, guys. I'll keep doing these every 6 months. It's wonderful to continue to see the data, to bring the receipts, and to show nothing has fundamentally changed. And right now, from where I sit, I don't see where the next Magic market downturn comes from. And I don't see where a fundamental change in the way this market works over the course of several cycles, I don't see where that change will come from in the future. That's something we're looking at out there on the, say, 10 to 15 year timeline. But right now, I don't see a change on the horizon. Let me know what you think, guys. Thanks to everyone who makes this content possible, especially my very generous supporters on Patreon. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and join me on Final Trade.